Hi, Weather Underground blogger Levi Cowan here. You've clicked onto the Tropical Tidbit for Saturday, June 27th. Here's Invest 93L, the main feature today. I'll let you gaze at the loop again. Here's the still image. Now, can you find the low-level center? If you guessed somewhere in here, that was a fantastic guess, especially last night before we had visible imagery, but it's actually not here, and there's three reasons for that. One, the convergence pattern is all wrong. If the low-level center was in here, you would not have this convection right here in this form. Two, there's southeast winds all through this area, and there's a buoy right here that shows a southeast wind. Now, if there was a low here, that wind would not be out of the southeast, it would be from the opposite direction. The third reason is that as soon as visible imagery came out this morning, you could easily see that this was a mid-level circulation because all the low-level winds are going this direction with no turning. It's just mid-level clouds turning in here, plus it's moving this direction, which makes no sense if it were a low-level circulation. So therefore, that's not it. Where is it then? It's right there. You can see it if you look at the loop. These clouds are slowly drifting this way. It is not a closed circulation at all, but it makes a lot of sense based on the observations and the low-level wind flow and the convective pattern. And it's right there. And guess where it's been moving this whole time? Northwest. It's not moving north. It's not moving north-northwest towards the channel. It's moving this way. Now, there's only one reason that the system hasn't developed yet like it could have yesterday, and it's not wind shear. Alright, it's not wind shear. What the problem is divided energy. United we stand, divided we fall. What happened is the tropical wave that's now in here somehow didn't interact properly with this mid-level low. Guess where this came from? Right there. This was what started. Everybody focuses on the tropical wave, but it was actually this mid-level low that started this whole thing. It came up from the eastern Pacific, started interacting with this tropical wave, and started firing off convection. And this mid-level low continued on its merry little way up this way and did not phase very well with this tropical wave, so what we're left with is divided energy and not allowing it to consolidate and bundle up. And until you get that, you're not going to see development. Now here's the upper level situation. You can see this upper level low in here backing towards the west slower than anticipated, which is causing a little bit of strain on this side of the system. You've got upper level winds coming from this direction, which is shearing it a little bit, and the upper level high over here that is very favorable is still centered right there. So you've got the low-level center on the western side of the high, which is not the best position to be in. But as this upper-level low continues to back this way, eventually conditions will get more favorable, especially after this gets into the Gulf of Mexico in the next couple of days. Now, which model group do you believe now? These have been taking it northeast for 24 hours now, but these initialized it properly and took it northwest, which is correct because the low is right there. It's not right here, it's there. And what my original idea was for it to come up through the northeast Yucatan and end up somewhere in here north of the Yucatan Peninsula by tomorrow. And now I'm willing to go the next step further in the track forecast. Here's the 0-hour analysis, GFS 500 millibar. You can see the mid-level circulation sort of in there. Here's the ridge, and here's the trough. Now this trough is not going to pick this up. This is what the models have been seeing. They see it going right up into the weakness right away and getting pulled that direction. But that's not what's going to happen. 24 hours, this trough lifts out. This is not what's going to pick this up. This is what's going to pick it up. The ridge builds in here. This will be in here. Alright, it's going to be north of the Yucatan. 48 hours, you can see what happens. The flow is more zonal. Notice how less amplified this trough is compared to its predecessors. Look at how far west the ridge is getting. It starts to retrograde to the east, and then you get very weak steering currents over the entire Gulf of Mexico. And what I think we'll see is this comes up north of the Yucatan, meanders around here a little bit, and eventually gets pulled northeast somewhere in this area because of the weakness due to this trough. There's still a chance this upper level low might somehow pinwheel it a little bit closer to Louisiana, but I'm leaning more towards the eastern areas here for when it eventually curves out. So that's basically my track idea. I think it comes up in here, meanders a little bit around in here, and eventually gets pulled northeast in a few days. Now, as far as development goes, I want to see it consolidated more. It's probably going to move over the Yucatan. It's not a big deal for it because weak systems do not get affected by the flat Yucatan as much as stronger systems. It'll maybe halt organization for a little while, but once it gets into this area, watch for it to organize and consolidate its energy as this mid-level circulation weakens, and that's when I think we really need to watch for development. I think it still has a good shot at becoming a tropical depression and maybe tropical storm Ana before it's all said and done. It's not too much of a threat in the Caribbean right now, I don't think, but really watch it when it gets in here because upper level conditions are going to be nearly prime with the upper level high over top with outflow banding in here, and sea surface temperatures across this whole area are obviously very warm, as I'm sure all of you know, and that means that the only thing limiting this may be dry air to the west. I think this system will be more heavily weighted on the eastern side, which is very typical of early season storms. But that's really the only inhibiting factor I can think of for this in the Gulf of Mexico. So it has the chance, it has the potential, the players are on the field, and we'll have to watch this carefully over the next couple of days. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.